This is Soccer 101 with Moon and Rocchio.
Welcome back to Soccer 101. We had a little vacation week. I'm Moon. This is Rocchio. And we are almost to the MLS final, but the conference finals have yet to happen. So much is happening in these last couple weeks. Rocchio, have you been able to catch some of these matches, or are you just checking out highlights? What have you been able to watch?
I was able to lock in this weekend. Obviously, the international break slowed everything down a little bit. I got time to play a lot of Football Manager to 2023, and we got everything started over the weekend. And, man, it was a fascinating weekend for soccer. Obviously, some St. Louis ties. You had Patrick Schulte with that huge win with the Columbus Crew. And then, obviously, I think the big one yesterday had to be Houston taking down Sporting Kansas City with a little bit of controversy at the death.
Yeah, dude, that was controversy. And of course, we got knocked out. St. Louis City SC gets knocked out by I-70 rival Sporting KC. So I found myself kind of in a Cardinals-Royals type of thing where I was like, am I rooting for KC here since they were the wild card and they took us out? I'm kind of one of those in baseball. Yeah, I'm kind of one of those when it comes to baseball that, like, if the Royals were in it, if the Cardinals are out and the Royals are in it, I'm all Royals, but I have a little bit of Royals ties. I was the biggest Bo Jackson fan ever. I was just talking about Bo Jackson yesterday at a family event. So that's a little bit different. So I actually found myself watching some of that Sporting KC and Houston Dynamo match, and I was torn. I couldn't figure out who I was rooting for because I really don't like the Dynamo. I just don't. I don't know why. I just don't. And I know they've had a spectacular season, a spectacular last run since they really haven't made the playoffs, I think, since like 2017 or something like that. So, they're a bit of an underdog here as well. But what did you? Who are you rooting for in that? Did you have any sort of skin in the game there with the Kansas City connection?
Not really. I jump to my rivalries pretty easily. I was crap talking with my friends from Kansas City when they announced the franchise. I picked up that rivalry and ran with it immediately. I wasn't about to. I for a little bit when I started watching soccer back in like 2008. I jumped in with Kansas City for a little bit, and then when I realized that they had changed their name from the Kansas City Wizards to Sporting Kansas City, I was like, well, I can't support such an unbelievably terrible decision. I became a free agent. I was a big Atlanta fan when they came in because it was a fun expansion team to watch. They pilfered all that Argentinian talent, and they went absolutely ham on the league for a couple of years. So I was a free agent, so I'm 100% all City all the way. But I do have to say, I do love the local connections. I know there's some people who get annoyed by it. Cincinnati annoyed me a little bit too much this year for me to run with the Cincinnati connection of Pat Noonan. By the way, congratulations to Pat on winning MLS Coach of the Year. I personally think the guy who got second should have won in Bradley Carnell, but nonetheless, if somebody's going to beat out Bradley Carnell, might as well be Pat Noonan. But I think I'm going to roll with Patrick Schulte, the man who came up with St. Louis FC as the goaltender for the Columbus Crew. I think I'm going 100% Columbus Crew at this point. Last time we spoke, I thought that them and the Union would be the dark horses to make a run in the East, and so far I was wrong with the Union a little bit, but it looks like the Crew might be able to do it.
You know what? And you mentioned everything going on over the East, and that was the other thing that I was watching, especially this last week. If St. Louis City SC would have held in there and just played their game from like this, mid-season back towards the beginning of the season, I think they could have taken any of those Eastern Conference teams. I really would not have been worried to take on the Crew or Cincinnati FC at this point if St. Louis was still in it. And it's such a shame because I'm watching going, man, I don't see over in the East what I see over in the West. Yep, Seattle, that Seattle LAFC game. Wow, dude. I mean, had we gotten through the gauntlet of the West, I would not be worried about the East. Not to say the Crew and Cincinnati FC aren't great teams that deserve to be there. That Crew team, let's just go to the East. Do you want to talk about what happened with that Crew and who was it? Orlando?
That was just was a fascinating game of soccer. Obviously, I mean, Schulte's a freaking monster. I mean, God, the kid's a monster. That was a great game. Do you think? Hold on a second, because I want to get this really quick. Are you saying that the current crop of West teams, you'll take them against whoever comes out of the East?
I think the West wins this. I think as long as all the teams show up like they're supposed to, I think the West wins it. I think the West has better goalkeeping, like hands down, all across, and they're all on fire right now. LAFC's guy and Houston won the matches for them against Seattle and KC. KC blew it. I mean, KC showed up like a wild card team. They didn't finish where they needed to finish. I mean, I know you're laughing. Can you deny?
No, they didn't, and that's why I'm trying not, because again they whooped us. So I'm trying not to get too schadenfreude with the Kansas City loss, and I'm failing. I'm failing. I can't help but laugh because the schadenfreude's peeking out. But I can't help but be a little bit happy that they lost, and the fact that they lost in a questionable handball call. I mean, does that make it better? Of course it does. Do I want to talk about that too much? A little bit. Will I? No, probably not.
That was a bummer. That was a bummer of a play. Definitely a handball.
Let's look at that. Actually, we got the video. Let's pull this up. This was from the broadcast between I just can't talk. Houston Dynamo and Sporting Kansas City last night. Obviously, Houston Dynamo go up to a 1.
Gary Kinder with that quick pass for Alan Polino in on goal. Polino still there for Shallowy off the line. Shallowy and Sporting Kansas City won a penalty. Results with Caroline Chenard, our video assistant referee.
It looks like a handball to me.
That was a handball. I think that's a handball. Goodbye. I'll see you later.
That's absolutely a handball. That's 100% a handball. He widens his body. It's below it's below even the elbow. I mean, he clearly, just definitionally, did he use his arms to create a space where his body would not have been to block that shot? 1,000%. It's a handball. It's probably a tie game. It's penalties, so on and so forth.
Total heartbreak for KC fans. Total heartbreak, and I do feel for him because I mean it was a great run. They had one of the coolest back into the season runs there. Honestly, they deserve to beat us. They deserve to be where they were, but they didn't deserve to win that game either. They did not finish multiple times. Houston's goalie came up real big on some good plays, but even in that play, in that replay, the first ball should have been finished and wasn't. Honestly, they looked like St. Louis in the first round, just like a team that deserved to be there that didn't deserve to go through in that particular match. Now, give them another chance, and maybe it was still a pretty tight game, but that was one of the conference semifinals. The other was LAFC and Seattle, and that was probably the match of the playoffs so far. It was incredible, and seeing what Seattle was trying to do with Chiellini being a 39-year-old center back. They worked him and they beat him a time or two, but that dude is so good and so calm, and their goalie stepped up so well. LAFC goes through to meet Houston in the conference final on the West. I think whoever wins there, and I would assume LAFC's just got the juice. They got the momentum. This is their opportunity to do a repeat. And I don't think that's been done since like 11-12, since LA Galaxy did it in 2011 and 12. So they could be repeat champions if they make it through Houston, and then they have to take on the winner of the Eastern Conference Final, which is Columbus Crew versus Cincinnati FC. They call it the hell in the, what is it? What's that rivalry called? What's that derby?
Oh, I always blank on these derby names.
Hell is real.
Hell is real. Yeah,
hell is real.
Yeah, I think hell is real is what it is.
The hell is real derby, and honestly, so you got FC Cincinnati. You got them being the Community Shield winner. Best record in the MLS. But honestly, man, the Columbus Crew looks like. I mean, they're just gonna run through some folks right now.
I thought Orlando was dangerous, and obviously, and that's why you look at Columbus, and I'm sure there's people saying, listen, they didn't score until they were playing a 10-man side. How much credit are you going to give them in that game? And do you really expect them to go beat Cincinnati? I think Orlando City was dangerous, the most dangerous team, even more so than Cincinnati on any given day. And so the fact that they were running with Orlando City for 77 minutes makes me think that they can run with Cincinnati the entire game as well. And then again, when you see Schulte make those kind of crucial saves, we saw it with Berkey. A great goaltender neutralizes a lot of the factors in the game. And so I certainly think that just because they needed red cards to take advantage of a team as talented Orlando City, I don't think that takes them out of being right there next to Cincinnati. I think that game's going to be fascinating. In fact, I think that game's going to be more interesting than the West because, like you said, I think LAFC is just going to bottle up and take down Houston probably in the first half for the most part.
Yeah, we'll see. That's going to be an interesting one because they're going to go after Chiellini's sluggishness as well. But I mean, they're just so solid back there in LAFC and Columbus Crew. Okay, so back to Columbus Crew, Orlando. Like, yeah, they took advantage of the red card, but they took advantage of a lot of things, and they made Orlando kind of look silly and made them make mistakes. I mean, that playing out of the backfield there, out of the left side of the box. I don't know what that guy was doing. Like, that's like high school. You get benched in high school for playing that way, and then you give the ball away and you give up a goal. In the playoffs, come on, man. In the semis, come on, man. So yeah, that guy's in trouble, and Orlando was clearly in trouble. Columbus Crew move on. Yeah, they're the underdogs as far as FC Cincinnati goes, but if you expose Cincinnati for what they can be, and if you outcoach them like St. Louis City SC did earlier in the season, I think Cincinnati can be taken down much easier than.
Whoa! Hold on a second, Moon. Pat Noonan won Coach of the Year. Bradley Carnell finished second. I don't think that ever happened.
So let me ask you this: Does that voting happen just for regular season, or do the playoffs?
It's it's supposed to be regular season.
Supposed to be.
Well, I'm pretty sure the voting's all in by the regular season. They just stagger all the voting's in before the postseason. They just stagger the release of who won so that each week they get to announce a winner.
Okay, I see.
Until the last, right before the MLS Cup, they announce the MVP. I
see. I wasn't 100% sure, honestly, because I thought Coach Carnell would get it, but I understand after the first round of playoffs why he wouldn't. But
you win the Supporter Shield, there's a lot of people who are just going to chalk it up.
Yeah,
I personally think
Supporter Shield.
I personally think that much like if you look at college football's Coach of the Year award, a lot of people complain that Saban hasn't won it a lot if you're a college football fan. Obviously, Nick Saban's probably the best football coach in America almost every year. But I think that Coach of the Year awards, there should be a factor of expectations and growth of a team. And that's why I do think, yes, FC Cincinnati is very talented. Yes, Supporter Shield winners. Not taking anything away from Pat Noonan. Love Pat Noonan. But when you talk about expectations, and you talk about how much the scheme and the growth of the team was part of the overcoming those expectations, I agree with you. I think even trying to be objective, maybe failing at it, I think Bradley Carnell was the Coach of the Year.
I think so too, definitely. But at least they got the right number one and number two.
There you go.
So yeah, I think I'm going for the underdog there with Crewe. I think if they can capitalize
all the way at this point now.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, I'm with you. And also it's Ohio. They're a tortured fan base. And I'm going to feel sorry for one half of it. That's why I do not feel bad about Cincinnati. I'm going to feel sorry for one half of Ohio and not the other one.
We'll put the playoff brackets here up on the screens just so you can see. So number 1 seed FC Cincinnati against number 3 there with Columbus, and then we have LAFC and Houston on the west side. I have LA and Columbus. Maybe that's just hopeful thinking for what I want to see.
I think you're absolutely right.
And I think LA, even though I'm typically like a not it's not that I'm anti. I'm typically anti big market as far as like who I'm rooting for or would like to see win. I don't want to see LAFC win, and I know Phoenix, my buddy Phoenix from Lincoln Park, is gonna snarl at me for that. He's a big LAFC guy. I would be very happy for him, but I don't care about the repeats, and I don't and I want to see some fresh blood in there, and I just don't like. I'm not all about the big market wins. Honestly, I would love to see Columbus tear through Supporter Shield winner FC Cincinnati, and then just handle LAFC. That'd be cool as heck. Like, what a storyline that I never said anything about. I certainly would be the first one to be like, "Whoa, I got that wrong."
Well, either way, I think if they were able to fight through like that, we could talk about how they tried so hard and they fought. They tried so long and they fought so hard. You're not gonna name drop and not expect me to go to an old school on that one, Moon. But yeah, I really do think Columbus has got a chance. I think these games are gonna be fascinating again. If I had to pick one game to watch of this playoffs, I think I'm gonna be finding a nice comfy couch right around 5 p.m. on coming up this next Saturday for that Cincinnati and Columbus game, Battle of Ohio. I'm down with it. I think that's going to be a fascinating game. Obviously, when you have the attacking threats that you have in Cincinnati, that's always going to be fun. Listen, City jumped them, but I think that's something that that happens sometimes when you have a team that has such a structured form. And I think that's why Pat Noonan won Coach of the Year, because people realize this guy's got a system and he's got a form that works for them. But I do think that you can get jumped by teams that can figure you out a little bit. Yes. Is Columbus the type of team that has that buildup like St. Louis did? Not necessarily, but again, you got a good goaltending and you can make a lot of things happen. So again, I'm with you 100%. I'm LA and Columbus in the final after this week.
FC Cincinnati is the AT-AT from Star Wars, like scary as hell. You don't want that, none of that. But then as soon as you get a cable around its legs,
I like that.
Oh no, the whole thing's coming down.
There you go.
It's
okay.
coming down.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, FC Cincinnati is the AT-AT that can be brought down by a cable. So yeah, Saturday, December 2nd, that happens at 5:00. Cincinnati and in Columbus, right there for the Hell is Real Ohio Derby, and then LAFC take on Houston Dynamo on that same night at 8:30 p.m.
I like this. We got a Star Wars reference and a Linkin Park reference. If you're 37 years old, podcast is for you.
Yeah, man. It's gonna be a good time. So we got all that. What did we miss? We got anything else that we want to talk about?
We covered it all. Like I said, I think we talked. We talked about Bradley Carnell. We talked about last episode. Berkey took home his award. Obviously, no City players, despite winning the Western Conference, are in contention for the MVP. So, will it? We'll see who it is. At the end of the day, I'm guessing it'll be a player in orange and blue, and we'll have to hear a lot about that over the next 6 months. But hey, the off season's short. Next week we'll talk about the MLS Cup a little bit, but I just can't wait because, man, my favorite part about soccer, the thing that locked me in when I first started getting into it, Moon, had to be transfer windows and just the way teams build. And so seeing a guy like Patrick Schulte come up through STL-FC, Scott Gallagher, St. Louis Billikens, to see him come up like that just got me thinking that I can't wait to see what the next crop of young players is. I can't wait to see Caden Glover next year. I can't wait to see a healthy and 1 year older and more mature Miggy Perez. There's young guys coming up. John Klein is another STL City 2 guy who got big minutes and who had his STL City debut. That just got me thinking. Yeah, I'm still pretty bummed that we're not talking about City right now. There's a lot of reasons to be excited, and I can't wait to dive into those over the next few months. You know what I'm
interested in? I want to know what the contract is for Dennis Boanga. Not that we're going to get the guy, but so he was the MLS Golden Boot winner for this year. He's sitting at 37 goals currently. 37 goals.
What would you do if you were a defender and the striker pairing that you had that night was Boanga and Adeniran? And Klaus is going to get thrown in there at some point to harass you the entire game.
That's scary stuff, man.
That's awesome.
Scary stuff. Like, I am curious as to what his interest is or what his availability is in these coming years, because that dude is just a powerhouse. 37 freaking goals, dude. Speaking of off season, how long is the off season, and what are those guys doing? I haven't really caught up, and I texted you when I was in the airport. I don't remember when that was. Was that last weekend or the weekend before?
Yeah, the weekend before that, I think.
Yeah, and all the players were in there, like in their jammies and with their ladies. And I was like, hey, there's a bunch of City SC players. Are they going somewhere together? And honestly, it didn't look like they were going anywhere together. I think they were breaking for the off season, or am I wrong?
They've broken for the offseason. And listen, if you get knocked out early, that doesn't surprise me. I expect that because the offseason is so short, because they have CONCACAF Champions Cup in round 1 starts February 6th.
Wow.
So, I mean, they're going to be in training by, I'm guessing at the latest, the second week in January. So we're talking about 2 months, and that's only because they got bumped out early. If you're a championship team, you're Cincinnati, you're looking at 1 month of pretty much break before you got to come back and start training again, because you're all in the CONCACAF Champions Cup because you're the winning teams. And so, yeah, it's a short off season for them, and it's a short off season for Lutz and Bradley, because January 1 hits, ding, 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 ladies and gentlemen. That's transfer window time. We got some roster moves to make.
Yeah, that is wild. That is wildly short.
So turnaround. So cool.
Well, it's gonna be fun. Well, thanks for jumping on with me today, Rocchio. I'm glad that we were able to cover a little bit of this, because it was an exciting weekend, even though we're not in it. It was hard for me to kind of get in the groove. But one of the things I did suggest to all of our Soccer 101 listeners, especially new folks to the sport or to the league, was to watch this, even though St. Louis City SC is not in. And I think it's delivering. I do think it's delivering. I think the MLS has been delivering. They've even stepped up a few things as far as their post-game stuff and their wrap-up shows and all that, if you have Apple TV Plus. And it's just been really...
Quit whining about VR, people. It's not perfect. Get over it. It happens.
It's a part. Yeah, it's a part of the game. It's a bummer part of the game, but it's a bummer. That was a handball. Sorry, KC, but you should have finished about 5 other times.
100%.
Yeah. All right. Until then, we will see you next week after the conference finals happen. And Rocchio, I guess all we have to leave them with is a
go!